Well, hey, welcome into another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, not enough doctors to go around, but the city of Orillia has a plan it hopes will mean everyone in the city has a primary health provider. A lot of Canadians worried about their financial health to start the new year. We get advice on how to stick to your plan for handling debt and getting the most bang for your buck. And how about something for your physical health? How about Pickleball? An indoor facility has just opened in Barrie. We find out more about Pickleplex and the game itself. We get the conversation started after this. Family doctors are hard to come by, but the city of Orillia thinks it's found a solution and thinks it may have a primary care provider for everyone in the city who wants one, maybe by the end of the year. Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan gets the prescription from Orillia Mayor Don McIsaac.
You said you hope to see all Orillians connected with a family doctor in the near future. I think you even said possibly with a primary care provider in the next year. How is that going to be accomplished, or what's the sort of mandate that council has approved?
Well, the mandate council's approved is to go, this is an exploratory study, come back to council the 24th of March with results. We have a group. In fact, I just met with a group just now to kick off that process, and they're going forward. Knocking on doors in Orillia when we were running for election, all of us heard loud and clear that people are having trouble finding doctors. So we developed an alternative business model. And as you said, my goal is to connect every person in Orillia to a primary care provider in the next year, hopefully by the end of this year.
Nothing wrong with goals, but is that realistic?
For Orillia, I think it is, and here's how. We will hire doctors as municipal employees. One thing we found out talking to potential doctors coming to Orillia is they graduate from medical school. They have several $100,000 worth of debt. The last thing they want to do is take on another $200,000 or $300,000 worth of debt to furnish an office setup. The city can therefore do that. We'll make an investment. We'll provide office space. We'll provide back office support. So the doctor will show up for work as an employee of the city, treat patients, and go home. I mean, that's what they'll do. They won't have to worry about that back office. They won't have to worry about paying the bills and that sort of thing, because the city will take care of that with our investment. The doctor will then bill OHIP, and the city will take that money. I've already been in contact with Sylvia Jones, the Minister of Health, and she embraces the proposal and says it's the right thing to do, and she's supportive.
And the council has approved $500,000 in funding. Now, this is for a city-run medical clinic, but that could change depending on what the working group finds in terms of their recommendations, how this is laid out?
Yep, we have an idea. There's things we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So we're just going through that exploratory process now. I haven't seen anything that says this is a bad idea or this cannot work, but there are unknown knowns out there that we need to come across and figure out what they are and figure out how to resolve them. We think we can do it, but there could be something that comes up that tells us we can't, but we're not going to be easily dissuaded.
There were some concerns expressed by several members. I don't know if slippery slope are the right words, but Janet Lynn Durnford had concerns that, this is a provincial responsibility, and does that take the onus off them, so to speak, and it's now the obligation of the city to do something?
Well, the city's not obligated. I think the responsibility of the city, we need to look after our citizens. And this is a way of looking at the health and well-being of residents and doing what we can. I mean, the province has invested heavily in healthcare over the last year. As you know, pharmacists can now prescribe for various minor ailments. Nurse practitioners can do more. So every little bit helps. And this is our little bit. We think we can do this. I don't believe it's a slippery slope at all. I think it will fund itself. It will pay for itself. I mean, doctors are out there hanging up shingles, setting up offices and making money. We think with the revenue that the doctor generates by seeing patients, we can cover the investment we put in.
Was it a guarantee that if this comes to fruition, that the province will reinvest that cash back to the doctors and to the municipality? So there's, the bottom line is clear for Orillia?
They didn't guarantee the bottom line is clear for Orillia, but what the minister did say was that this can be done by the doctors billing directly to OHIP, and the minister's offered to provide contacts to the city in her ministry that will help get this set up.
And Mayor, if every Orillian gets a family doctor, do you believe then that also means a healthier community?
Oh, I think so too. I mean, if you look at medical history throughout the years, there's been great advances in medical history. All sorts of things that make people healthier. The healthier the people are, the better off they are. There's a lot of data that supports people having access to primary care. They're healthier, they live longer, they live a better life.
This plan you noted there was a similar one out in British Columbia in Colwood. What did they do, or what are they doing, and have you been able to gauge the metrics of whether it was successful or not?
They have decided to hire on municipal payroll doctors, much the same as we are. My understanding is they've hired one. We've reached out. I've not heard from them yet. Hopefully we can soon. But, we're looking at that as a model, but we're going to make our own. I mean, it's going to be an Ontario one. To my knowledge, we're the first one in Ontario to do this. We are committed to make it right, and we think we've got the right people on this project to get the right result and figure out what has to be done over the next several months to make sure that Orillians have access to primary care providers. And
when will the working group be reporting to Council? What's their deadline?
Deadline's March 24th.
And that's the timeline to lay out the recommendations for Council to review?
Yeah, lay out the recommendations. I've challenged the group this morning to go forth and come back with a complete report that's turnkey that we can, if the Council gives approval, they can start right away.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. How are your finances to start the new year? Better, worse, about the same as last year? 24% of Canadians asked in a TD Group survey said they're feeling more confident about their finances, up 4% from a year ago. Rena DeGracia is a district vice president with TD based in Barrie. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much.
24% is not a huge number, suggesting the majority of Canadians are still feeling uneasy about their financial state and where it's headed. What are we most worried about, did you find?
Yeah, what we found is that the majority of Canadians, cost of living still clearly a concern for many Ontarians. And again, this year tops their list of financial challenges at 46%. The survey did, however, indicate that things are moving along in the right direction, and Ontarians are starting to feel more positive about achieving their financial goals.
Does this harken back, because I've been around for a long time, and I've seen these cycles come and go. I remember when mortgage rates were 18, 19% in the early 80s. I've seen recovery, and then I've seen us get a little goofy again and start spending and get into more trouble. Is this the kind of thing we're going through now, do you think?
You know what, and I don't think so. I think, what we're seeing is that there's a significant portion of Ontarians that are looking to save and invest for the future, actually 51%. And so that is very, very reassuring. We've also got another 53% that are saying their priority is really managing their day-to-day expenses. And I feel really terrific about the 30% of Ontarians that are saying their priority today and for the coming year is to pay down their debt. And so, I really think that, the key here is establishing a financial plan and seeking professional advice that can really help folks make a meaningful difference.
So I was going to say, it sounds like a lot of us do have a plan for getting through. Some cut back day-to-day expenses, some focus on paying down credit card balances, some have cut back all they can. Have you seen from year to year that these kinds of things have been successful?
Well, what we do see is that individuals who actually work with a financial professional feel better about their financial circumstances. And so 50% of Ontarians that actually work with a qualified financial professional are more likely to feel positive about their finances and their ability to get to their financial goals.
It's kind of like somebody holding your hand, isn't it? You've got the right idea, but you're not sure how to get it going and how to maintain it. And if you've got somebody who knows, telling you and advising you, it makes it all that much easier.
I think you're so right, Dan. I think of this much like, a doctor helps you take care of your physical or mental health, and your financial institution or your financial professional can really help support you in your financial health journey. You don't need to go it alone. There are professionals that can help you get there.
All right, so I've made the decision that I'm going to get my finances in order this year, and I've made the decision that I want the help of a financial planner. I call you. What's the first step, and then what happens after that?
I think the first step is to actually meet with one of our personal bankers. or, the personal banker at your financial institution. And really what we're going to do is we're going to sit down and get to know you as an individual. What are your savings habits? What are your spending habits? What kind of debt do you have? And more importantly, what are your short, medium, and long-term goals? And then as we assess all those elements, we will work together to help you put a plan in place to get you to those short, medium, and long-term goals. As you think about that, budgeting is an important part, and there are lots of tools that can help you with that.
I know these days a lot of people are doing online banking. They're not into a bank branch as much as they used to be. Is that part of what's happened, do you think? We've lost that personal touch with the people at our banks?
Well, I do think that there are lots of opportunities to meet either in person with a financial advisor. There's also the opportunity to do virtual appointments. And, actually, as we look at some of the apps that are available, like TD MySpend is a great example of an app that helps you to monitor and track your spending and help you keep on track with your financial goals. But we actually don't see terrific uptick with millennials as we do with some other generations.
Based on this survey and the customers you've encountered, are we on the right track? Are we going to get there, or are we going to stumble along the way?
Based on what I'm seeing, Dan, and based on the optimism that Canadians and Ontarians more broadly have, I do think we're going to get there. I think that the first step is to meet with a financial professional, and I think the second step is getting a budget in place. And then I think the third step is making sure that you're using the tools and resources along the way, like TD MySpend or Goal Builder, to help you determine what your financial plan is. And those things will keep you on track. That's great. Thanks for this today, Rena. If somebody wants more information, can they reach out to you? They sure can. They can reach out to me, or they can reach out to any one of our local advisors in our 15 branches across the Barrie and Simcoe region.
Again, Rena, thank you so much for this today. We've got our fingers crossed. We're on the right track.
Thank you so much, Dan. Pleasure speaking with you.
Pickleball is growing by leaps and bounds. We've seen outdoor tennis courts turned into pickleball courts in Barrie, and now there's an indoor facility at Georgian Mall where you can indulge year-round. Here again is our Ian MacLennan with the president and co-founder of Pickleplex, Stephen Fry.
Tell us a bit about this background, that your relationship with pickleball and how Barrie came to be on the radar.
Yeah, well, I'm a Barrie native, so I'm born and raised in Barrie. So there's a massive community for pickleball in the city. So we're so excited to service the community. We're the first indoor dedicated pickleball facility in the area. There's been a huge demand. We've sold over 500 memberships even before opening the doors. And it's a really professional environment, bright lights, professional surfaces, a social environment, fully licensed. So we're excited to service the community.
How do you get started?
Yeah, so membership based, or it's also open to public. The difference between a member and opening the public is that members can book the court sooner than the public. No different than think a golf course or tennis club. And we offer social times as well for our members so that they can come in and socialize with member-only events. Otherwise, you can 14 days open to the public to book, or 7 days if you're a member.
Are you riding a wave, do you think, or is this pickleball phenomena going to last?
Yeah, no, pickleball is here to stay. In fact, I'd say we're about a year and a half behind the U.S. In the U.S., there's more people playing pickleball than golf and tennis combined. So in pickleball in Ontario and in Canada is growing just as fast. And this sport is from 8 to 88 years old. So it's growing really fast. And we anticipate it actually hitting the Olympics in the next few years. One of our goals is actually to sponsor Olympians to compete in the sport. So we're anticipating that by 2028, it's going to be in the Olympics. So we're very, very excited for that.
I know there have been big sports celebrities too that have taken up the sport, like LeBron James, etc. So having those names attached to the sport doesn't hurt either, I guess.
No doubt. Not just those. There's been a whole host of celebrities, all Ellen DeGeneres, Heidi Klum. So a whole bunch of celebrities behind the sport, and Tom Brady as well.
Yeah, Tom.
So they're creating a lot of clout and visibility of the sport.
Describe pickleball. Some people say, well, it looks like tennis. It looks like ping pong. What makes the sport unique?
Yeah, what makes the sport really unique, it's really easy to learn, but it's hard to master. So it's a very accessible sport. You can fit 3 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court. So I tell people it's akin to a cross between badminton and ping pong on a surface that isn't too far to move. So it attracts all age groups, which makes it very good to play. The other really interesting thing about pickleball, it's about 55% female players playing too. So
the growth in female participants. I think last time Pickleball Canada indicated I believe I'm just looking. It was a number like 55% growth just in women alone.
Oh, there's a massive undertaking. In fact, one of the best players in the world right now is she's only 18 years old and she's making millions of dollars a year playing pickleball, and she's a female in elite waters from the U.S.
What kind of gear do you need to play the sport?
Yeah, I'd say it's a much more accessible sport than something like a golf, but it is very affordable. We rent courts out on an hourly basis, so if you're in the public, it's costing about $12 to rent, so not too bad if you had 4 people playing. And then you get a paddle. You can get a paddle at Cane Tire for $50, or you can go all the way up to $400 paddles that are on the professional level.
Is there a brand of shoe?
There is. Well, all the shoe companies are jumping into this. Yeah. The Reeboks, the Nikes, the Akis. There's a whole bunch of them jumping into space.
And I know Painswick Park in South Barrie, they just expanded with pickleball courts too. It was seen at first, I think, as something, kind of an old person sport, that I'm not dismissive of lawn bowling, but the younger demographics are the ones that are really riding it now, it seems.
That's absolutely right. The median age of people playing is being driven down every single day. I'd say there's a lot of retirees that are playing. That's a common audience, but this is a new hot date night thing and the new Friday or Saturday night event. That the pickleball is here. That's what it's here for.
There's lingo too. Yes. I did look up some of the lingo, so I can test you. Kitchen.
Well, kitchen's also called the non-volley zone. So what that means is that you can't hit the ball out of the air in the kitchen area or the non-volley zone.
Dinking, which sounds kind of okay. What's this about? What is that?
And dinking is a massive part of the game. So it's more or less doing soft shots back and forth near the net. The whole idea of pickleball is getting to the net and kind of crowding that zone. So a lot of the game is actually dinking, not a lot of power smash hits.
Is it like volleyball and ping pong in terms of who wins? What was their score? How does this end?
It's very, very similar to tennis. So you play up to 15, and then you rotate back and forth. And there's a special scoring mechanism for pickleball too. So it's for whoever's the point, next point, and then who's serving, because each player gets counts, either 1 or 2.
And if people want more information about where you operate and how, and because you don't have to be a pro, right? You can this is a place to start and learn?
This is definitely for beginners. Actually, our target audience is actually folks that have never swung a paddle ever in their life. So most people will swing the paddle for the first time in our clubs in this community.
So BYOP, or do you have to bring your own paddle?
We have rental paddles available or paddles for sale as well.
Okay, more info, what's the website?
It's pickleplex.ca.
The Barrie Colts got their groove back last weekend, winning a pair of games against 2 of the top teams in the league, this after losing 5 in a row. We get a review and a look ahead to this weekend from Colts broadcaster and writer Gene Pereira. He's with our Will Conkin.
Colts are back on the saddle after riding bumpy the last bit. They went 2-1 in their last 3, had dropped 5 in a row at one point. We're in North Bay and lost 2-0. No revenge game for Anthony Romani and Owen Van Steensel. Then the Colts picked up a 4-1 win against Windsor and beat Niagara 5-1. Gene, what stood out along the way in these ones? You wrote in one of your articles that they've been clicking together now.
Yeah, it was a much different Barrie team we saw against Windsor Niagara than when we kicked off the week against North Bay. A 2-0 loss in North Bay where Barrie extended their losing streak to 5 games. And, again, it was by far not their best hockey. I would call it probably, without doubt, the toughest stretch of the season. But it was a complete turnaround against a really good Windsor team on Saturday. And then Niagara Sunday, where they really, I think in that Niagara game on Sunday, they absolutely dominated the first 40 minutes. I think the shots were 31-6 at one point. So it was a performance against 2 really good hockey teams, 2 of the top teams in the Ontario Hockey League, and Barrie looked to have righted the ship. And again, it was just simply a much better effort, the Barrie Colts, over these 2 wins. And I guess the hopes now that they can put that losing skid behind them and return to the battle up top the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, you were saying that head coach Marty Williamson, he looked pretty down, understandably, after losing those the 5 straight. But do you think he's coming around more?
Yeah, I think, obviously as a coach, those 5-game streaks are tough, especially, when you have a team that is expected to be a contender. You just come off making a big trade at the deadline that helps the team. And, look, there's no doubt that it was a different Barrie Barrie team we saw in those 5 games. I didn't, this is a team that normally competes. They even on New Year's Eve, they were outstanding against Oshawa on that 7-4 to win, and you kind of wondered where was that team over this 5-game stretch. But it was certainly a much better effort on the weekend, and that'll certainly, for a coach, I think when you know that you got that in that room, you got that talent, and the team pulled together. They kind of figured out what was going on, and were able to turn around with 2 outstanding efforts. I mean, Windsor's one of the top teams. They had just lost 1 game in their previous 11 games coming into the Barrie game, and the Colts were, clearly the better team on that night, and they got a big win. And then against Niagara, again, they're right in that battle top of Niagara. They moved to within 1 point of the Ice Dogs with the win, and it was a big win and a pretty dominating performance in a game that really shouldn't have been that close, 2-1 in the third period. Barrie puts 3 goals to put it away, but the Colts were clearly the dominant team, and Owen Flores was just outstanding in the net for the Niagara Ice Dogs.
What have you made of Romani and Van Steensel after a small sample size?
Yeah, and obviously Van Steensel's had a few more games to kind of get in, but with Anthony Romani specific, he had missed the 3 previous months with a broken clavicle, and you figured, okay, it's going to take him a little time, 2, 3, 4 weeks to get back to game shape, but it seemed like it took a couple, to be honest with you. He was just, you could see him getting stronger and stronger every shift, and never mind chipping away that rust. He kind of blew it away on Sunday, and back-to-back games with goals. The empty netter on Saturday, but his goal Sunday was a great shot to the roof of the net, and from a bad angle, and you can really see the elite scoring skills that this guy has. And again, he's going to be a big-time player for them on their power plays and so on. And just, his addition to, Barrie has so much depth up front, and the scoring now with guys like Riley Patterson and Claire Bodwin, and, the list just goes on of, the skill that Barrie has up front. And Romani is going to be a big piece of this team. What was really impressive is that he's making an adjustment quick, getting back in the swing of things, and already with a pair of goals in 3 games.
You were mentioning off-air, too, about how their goaltending has been stellar with Sam Hilbrandt and Ben Hrebeck. Is it difficult for head coach Marty Williamson to choose who gets in net?
Yeah, that's a nice decision, isn't it? When you can kind of put either guy and have full faith in them, and I think the team in front of them has full faith in both goaltenders, and that's a credit to Hrebeck, who has just really had he's really taken advantage of every opportunity he gets. And with Hilbrandt at World Juniors, Hrebeck was outstanding through that run there, and it's a nice habit. I mean, I think Hilbrandt is still the number 1 guy, and I think he's proven that as playing the playoffs last year. And even over this tough stretch, he got most of the starts. He played really well, and credit to Sam that kind of he was the one that kind of kept him in a lot of those games. And again, I think he's going to be the number 1 guy going here, but I think you certainly see Hrebeck get his fair share of starts, and it's really a nice comfort to have when you have 2 goalies that you can put and have full faith in that they're going to give you outstanding net minding.
So on the schedule for the Barrie Colts, they kick off the week against Owen Sound, then Brampton on Thursday, and Brantford on Saturday. Can you see the good times keep on rolling through these games?
Yeah, I mean, if they play anything like they did the last 2 games, the Barrie Colts are going to be, pretty fine. I mean, they're physical up front, a much better forecheck, and they forced turnovers, and that led to more scoring. They had an issue through their losing streak with scoring goals, and they were much better on the weekend in the last 2 games. And look, they face a Brampton team that's been playing really well, and and then Brantford on Saturday that beat Oshawa in back-to-back games, again, it's a really deep Eastern Conference. I mean, these are just two teams. I think Brampton, you look at where they are in the standings, they're a much better team than that. So it'll be a really good test for Barrie here this weekend, coming up with just, an opportunity here against two really good teams, and, a division game against Brampton, again, as they look to, 1 point behind Niagara, get back on top of the Central Division in the Eastern Conference standings.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.